Yes, people, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing good. There's a lot of chat, and I wanted to have a talk about this, about recruitment going into the Premier League already. We're not there yet, but there's chat about it, so I want to do a little bit of a discussion about it. Obviously, all the experts who online now, all the Twitter experts who know everything about coaching, also know everything about recruitment and what happens. Now, I'm not an expert by any means, but I do work in that field. Not an expert, nowhere near it yet. Got a lot of years to go before I can even think about doing something like that, calling myself something like that. But I do work in the field. And in the last 18 months, I've gathered quite a lot of understanding of how it works just from watching it and talking to people about it in, peers above me, work colleagues, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different information out there. There's a lot of gatekeeping again as to what happens in recruitment. So from my experience, and this is important, every single club has slightly different ways of doing it, right? But fundamentally, the results are very similar. I've seen. So people talk about, oh, Brighton have got this gem from this country. There's so much information out there. There's so much this, that, everything out there that most players are known to every club. And this is the misconception that, oh, Brighton have just plucked them out of nowhere. Guarantee any player Brighton sign, the rest of the Premier League clubs know of this player. It's just, what do they value in that player? And what do they see compared to other teams, right? There's no hidden gems. I promise you, there's very rarely hidden gems. There's people who are not seen as being a top talent yet, which most clubs will go, and I won't make it. But then there might be one club who sees something in that player. And honestly, people, this could be anything from anything, literally anything. It could even be the shape of the body, right? How much growth can he have? How much growth can he have based on his width of his shoulders or hips? It's genuinely, that's true. Happened to Haaland, actually. These are the little details, and this is the understanding. So when Leeds United are linked, for example, with a player, or the link is this. The link says Leeds United like this player. Leeds United are looking at this player. That is not news. Every club, or most clubs in the world, will have looked at that same player. Because in a recruitment perspective, you want as much information as possible. Whether that player is going to sign for you or not, whether you do a report on the player, whatever, information and statistical analysis for the greater kind of globe of your recruitment scope is good. The more information, the better. The more trends you can look at. There's certain things you can look at. You gather information, you learn more. So saying that doesn't mean we're signing a player. It doesn't mean we're in talk to sign a player. It just means we're doing what every other club is doing, right? And that's what I've seen. That's one thing I wanted to say. But now we're talking about Leeds United link, and Julian Weigl from Borussia Mönchengladbach is linked to Leeds United. Again, I don't know how deep the links are, but he's on the list. That list could be 50 long. That list could be a 10 list short list. That could be someone in the database of 100 people, the top 100. It could be any, right? Don't know. It could be top 5. Who knows? Again, it's very vague. But there's a lot of players in lists, trust me. And at this point, the list is narrow, but it's not top 3. There'll be still players going through there. The seasons are still going. There's still information and data that's been gathered. You've got an idea of what you want, but again, you're not going to go full out on that because you don't even know what league you're going to be in. But it's about gathering information, like I said. So then when you do move, you've got as much information as possible on each player in that position that you think is feasible to get. But yeah, he's been linked. And the usual people online, the Twitter experts, are saying, yeah, Farke's mate, all this, it's his friend, the usual jargon. Just because obviously they've got a good relationship and he worked with him at Borussia Mönchengladbach. There's a narrative that in the Premier League, Farke just picked people because they were German or they played in the Bundesliga. Now, what I will say is the biggest context that's not been all the people against the manager, they're not being fair because they're not saying one huge aspect of recruitment and everything is the budget you have. No one's even mentioning it, right? And we'll get back to Weigl in a second. But no one's even mentioning the budget. They say they're having great conversations about the manager in the Premier League, but they're not once mentioning the budget in a fair capacity. They might breeze over it for a second. And in the first season, Daniel Farke went to the Premier League. I believe he got 8 million to spend. And then in the second season in the Premier League, Daniel Farke, it was 63 million they spent. However, they sold Buendia for 38 or 35 of that. So they sold their best player and had about 30 million to replace him and bring in a new squad, because he lost a lot of players in that season. A lot of his costs, Stapleman, Rantic, all them, all went. My point being, whether you're against off all that, that's not the point. That's not the point of this video. My point being, and I know this, when you've got a little budget or a low budget, right? Maybe even hardly any, no budget. What you stick to and what the players you recruit, they have to be a certainty in one thing. So, for example, Farke goes to the Premier League, you got 8 million to spend, right? What are you going to do with 8 million? You have to bring in what you know, because you can't bring anything else in. You cannot. You have to bring in a certainty, whether that's a physical attribute, you're certain they're physical players that can deal with the league, whether that's mentality, you know the player, you know they'll stick with you, you know they'll fight, you know they've got that personality. Those are the two things you have to go by. You can't really explore any other markets because you don't know, because you don't have a lot of money to spend. So you have to go with the certainties. The bigger budget you get, the more you can express yourself with players from this country, that country, more attributes. But when you've got a little budget, you already know how difficult it's going to be. It's going to be almost impossible. Almost impossible with 8 million quid or 30 when replacing your best player. So when it's almost impossible, you need players around you who you know have a certainty in a certain aspect, whether that's, like I said, physically or you know the player. So that makes sense. That's what you do. That's the way it is. You know, where I worked, it was about, can we find players who are physical enough for the league and have the mentality? That's what you need. And this is it. And this comes on to the other side of it. Like Julian Weigl, for example, yeah, he played under Daniel Farke. That's not a negative to want a player the manager knows and respects the manager and will play for the manager. We want players who play for the manager. Whether you like the manager or not is irrelevant. The football club needs to bring in players that are guaranteed to play for the manager. That's important. And this comes down to, look, whether you think he's good enough or not, you know, people have their opinions, is what it is. I don't know. I have no idea. I think he's an upgrade on what we've got, 100%. Definitely. He's played the top flight for years and years and years. Definitely an upgrade on what we've got. And then this is the other side of it, where people are saying about what teams and what kind of angle recruitment has took. People are saying now that, and I've seen a lot of it online, a lot of it, that basically now you just need to sign athletes. You don't sign system-based players for the manager. You sign players who are athletes who can suit the league. Half of that is true. But you do both. And like I said, this is just my experience. You do both. The two core fundamentals that when you sign players, do they fit the system? You have a list of KPIs, key performance indicators, that every single player you recruit in a certain position has these certain attributes. That's what you're looking for, right? There might be a really, really talented player who has all the, you know, but is he physical? Is that important? Yes. We'll get him then. That's kind of how that works. You know, you have the key list of key performance indicators, the KPIs, each position, what we need that player to do. That's what we're looking for. And then, underlining everything, do they fit? Will they suit the league? That's the question. That's what you're looking for. Those are the two answers. And look, people clearly who, I don't know, I guess they've got loads of expertise in this field. They must know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who said managers just, you know, teams now just recruit for the league. It's not true. It simply isn't true. It's a combination of both. It has to be a combination of both. There is teams that suit the Premier League that won't suit Pep Guardiola's system. There is teams in the Premier League that won't suit a Marcelo Bielsa system. It won't suit a Slot Iriola system. You know, depends. It's both. It's important to get both. Chelsea are probably a good example of a team who brought in a lot of players, a lot, how many of them really align with the system that has been played under Maresca? Yeah, are they ideal? I don't think they are. Whereas you look at Forest and the way they play, the players they brought in, who let's be honest, had up and downs in the league. But they found confidence in themselves. They fit the system perfectly that Nuno is playing. And now through that, they've grown as a player, and now they sit the league and they look unstoppable. Because they have an identity with the coach and the way the coach plays. But it's both, and it's very important. That's probably the most important thing. They need to suit what the manager wants, and they need to suit the league. And this isn't even, and this people can talk about Farke. This isn't even about Farke. This is as your job, as a scout, as working in recruitment, as a head of recruitment, as a director of football, whatever it is, whatever the role is, that's your job. You know, and like I said, every club is slightly different, but fundamentally that's the case. The 49ers, who have this, they're extremely successful in sport. They're not just going to blindly bring in players that are just play for the manager. They're not that stupid. It's bigger than that. This league is bigger than that. Where we want to go as a club is bigger than that. They don't do that. Weigl, for example, might be a player they've identified as someone who, one, has a mentality to play with the manager and understand what he wants, like I said before, which is a huge part of it. Obviously, he knows the system. That's two. But does he know the league? Can he play in this league? Is he a bigger athlete? Because he is slow, he's not agile, but he's very good on the ball. He's an upgrade on what we've got. But the question is then, if you bring a player like him in, you have to surround him then obviously with other players who can fit the system and also fit the league. That's important. And it's about the balance of the squad. Now, again, what is the system and what is the league? There's this narrative that, again, Farke likes a certain type of winger. I don't think that's true. I think we've had very different wingers in the last 2 years. You know, Solomon is very different to everyone in our team. Dan James is very different to everyone in our team. And they are playing together on different wings and are two very different profiles. I don't think there's a simple kind of way Daniel Farke wants his wingers to play, other than they need to be the creator. Whether they're 6'3", whether they're more build up and they like to do 1-2s and they're more of a crosser. I think at the end of the day, Farke wants G&A from his wingers. They are the creators in this team, so he needs them to be creative. And the 10, for example, is quite flexible because he's had many different players in that 10. I think ideally, a Farke 10 is someone who can be a midfielder, but can also play on as a striker in the box when we get high and works hard. Now, within that, the confines of that, you can be skillful, you can have tricks, you can have be excellent on the half turn, you can be an excellent tackler, but the fundamentals are there, right? They have to be able to do that up and down between attack and the midfield. It's very important. They have to be strong, they have to be good. We don't have that profile. But that profile that I mentioned, the Farke profile 10, now you've got a budget and express and get, right, we've got the profile, but can we get a profile like that? But can they be a bit more creative as well? Because you've got the budget. You're in the Premier League with a budget. So you can get these, like I said, there's wider range of players. You've got the core player, but you're getting the wider range of it now. And this is the important thing. You know, being linked to the striker, I think Daniel Farke strikers with a budget are quite good athletes. And I think that could bode well for what we need in the Prem, because we definitely need athletes. I agree with that. But not every single player on the pitch has to be an athlete. You know? But it's about the balance of the team. And again, this isn't even about the manager. This is about just my experience. But I'm sure the experts on Twitter know more. I'm not an expert, by the way, as I said at the start. But I've got experience in this. This is just my take. That's fine. Again, it's not about the manager. Say this, whoever we got in, it's exactly the same. You buy for the manager, but you also buy for the league. It's very important that you do both. Very important. I've given examples of what happens if you buy for one but not for the other. We saw that under Jesse Marsh. Players who you could tell kind of fit the system didn't really fit the league. you know, talking about Man City and the differences between their players and what Pep wants from their players compared to, you know, an Areola or a, you know, Mene. There's loads of managers out there that are very different, who will fit the league but not the system. So, yeah, that's my opinion. Agree with it or not. Okay, it is what it is. You enjoy your days, and I'll enjoy. Well, I won't enjoy. I'll try and enjoy Leeds United. I'm excited. I can't wait for the game. I've not done a thing on the game because you've got to go win it. It's quite simple now. There's 4 games to go. There's not much to talk about. Whoever plays. Go win the league, man. It's quite simple. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this one. Bit of a different one. Bit of a chatty one. I hope you all appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye bye.